Hello, my name is Juan Echanove and I'm the Senior Director for Food and Water Systems in CARE. And today we are going to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic, food nutrition and security, and gender equality. Basically on how women, gender equality, and social norms are critical to recovering from the crisis, from the pandemic, and building back better. There are four main issues that we are going to discuss today. One is that COVID is putting unprecedented pressure on women, their rights, and also their food security. The second is that women can also be powerful actors to solve the food insecurity crisis that is upcoming. If we keep women at the core of the COVID response, we may see better results in that response. So the question we will mainly address is, how can we work with women to mitigate the coming food crisis? Women are key and often invisible part of our food system. They are 43% of the farming workforce in developing countries, and more than 60% of employed women in sub-Saharan Africa are working in agriculture. COVID-19 is increasing women caregiving burdens because children and the elderly are at home more, and women are much more likely to be caring for the sick. That extra time make it challenging to spend the time they need on farming, and productivity will, of course, suffer. On the other hand, many women rely on informal networks to get access to information, and COVID-19 mobility restriction and social distancing are compromising this kind of information sharing. As agricultural extension services or advisory services to farmers move to digital platforms to accommodate social distancing, women will get left behind in the widening digital divide. Finally, as markets close and cross-border trade deteriorates with COVID-19 quarantines, women struggle to access the seeds, tools, and fertilizers they need. So in addition to the challenges men face, mobility restriction and caregiving burdens make it harder for women. In fact, in many countries, women already have lower mobility than men, even prior to the COVID quarantines, and they often require permission to leave the houses. So some policy decisions in the COVID crisis are restricting women even further, and as we said, caregiving burdens also keep more women at home. We know that when a crisis hits, women are usually the first to start eating less and eating last to make sure that the rest of their families can get enough to eat. They are also 3 times more likely to be anemic than men. Not only does this mean more women than men are likely to go hungry when the COVID-19 related hunger pandemic hits, it also means that women will have fewer of the nutrients that they need. Women are also facing higher risk of gender-based violence and sexual exploitation as food quantity and quality decreases and stresses goes up, especially when many men consider inadequate food preparation a reason to abuse or beat their wives. The COVID-19 crisis risks rolling back women's rights and economic gains, as so many crises have before. CARE research in Ethiopia and Zimbabwe nutrition programs show that gains in women's decision-making power at home regressed when crisis hits. In fact, the 2008 financial crisis rolled back women's rights and employment, and the same can happen now with the COVID crisis. Women are not at the table when key decisions are made, and are often invisible in the datasets leaders use to guide decisions. The current data around COVID-19 and food crisis is replicating this pattern, putting women at risk of losing the gains they had made around rights, agriculture, financial inclusion, and decision-making. Finally, for the poorest and most vulnerable women, losing economic gains may also risk the empowerment and decision-making roles that women have been able to claim for themselves. But women are an essential part of the solution, and one important aspect of it is to treat women and girls as leaders. Women have different needs in crisis, and they need to be part of shaping the solutions. CARE's Zimbabwe program Masvingo, which was a El Nino recovery project funded by USAID, encouraged women to be in leadership roles during the crisis to ensure that women's needs were met and that women had a voice in community decision making on crisis response. Women have different needs in a crisis and need to be part of shaping the solutions. And as we all adjust plans and programs, it is imperative that all plans address different needs and vulnerabilities of women, match current technical and policy guidance in the food and nutrition security arena is gender blind. The submissions risk reinforcing existing and further eroding women's rights. Ask women and girls what they need. All data collected in COVID-19 should be sex disaggregated and include specific questions that ask women themselves what they need, because women, men and youth had specific needs. And understanding how this shock is affecting women's food security is key to finding solutions to the looming food crisis. Women groups like saving groups, farmer groups, cooperatives, etc. exist all over the world. With saving groups alone, CARE reaches more than 10 million women worldwide. These groups are already taking steps to react to COVID-19. In Niger, for example, women saving groups negotiated with a local energy company to get hand-washing equipment they could install in their community to prevent the spread of corona. Get women cash and food now. Because of quarantines during Ebola, 60% of people in Sierra Leone ate their entire seed reserve and could not plant crops the following year. 1/4 of people sold all of their livestock, and 4 out of 10 people used up all their savings. A combination of seed vouchers, cash transfers, and support to saving groups helped people in Sierra Leone to keep their crops growing during the Ebola crisis. So safety nets like cash and food aid can and should be promoted. Focus on women. Recognize women as farmers and producers is also key. Any COVID-19 agricultural program should explicitly target women producers. That means not only setting specific targets, like for instance, at least 50% of support should go to reach women farmers, but also, as we said before, designing the programs in a way that they meet women needs. We have to think of women as market players, because women are critical players in many markets and they help keep economies flowing. Every COVID food security response should explicitly consider how to support women in markets, agriculture value chains, and business to support recovery. Support women to build connections to markets. And let me share with you an example of this. In Bangladesh in 2014, political unrest shut down markets in some areas for several weeks at a time. Communities were not able to tap into normal market activities, but the women who had built links with market buyers bounced back from crisis faster. Enable women, but also men, to access information. In Ghana, for example, the talking books and radio programs that CARE has been promoting were used to convey seasonally appropriate key recorded messages. And as one male gender champion put it, the talking book was a very powerful gender tool. Women could bring the talking book home and play it. The talking book had a significant impact on hard-to-reach men in the village. So these radio programs and also WhatsApp groups and other means of remote communication can be used to broadcast shows and share information on nutrition, on agriculture, on child health. It's important to allow as much mobility as possible because social distancing, although it's a critical tool to contain the spread of the virus, should be designed in a way that makes them compatible with keeping production. This measure should still allow as much mobility as possible, particularly supporting women mobility. It's fine if we have to apply quarantine to restrict travel between communities, for instance, but we should do that in a way that ensures that small-scale women farmers can get to their fields, can access water sources, and encouraging also men to take on childcare responsibilities while women leave the house. It's also important to keep markets open with adequate social distance measures, of course, and investing heavily in public hand washing facilities that can reduce the spread of COVID-19 without crippling markets or making it impossible for women to access food. Engagement to support women is also critical. Working with male leaders who can advocate for women's rights and speak up against gender-based violence is one key to success. Another is getting men to support women with caregiving work, household chores, fetching water, and other traditional roles for women. This gives women time to tend their crops and ensure food security in the long run. Men should also ensure women get equal access to food. This and much more, it's explained in detail in the COVID-19 Food, Nutrition and Security and Gender Equality brochure that CARE has recently produced, and you can access via the internet. Here you have the link. Thank you so much